kids! Welcome to Stylus Rumble drawing time thing. I don't know what this thing. I know I've been missing for a little while. Thanks for everyone who checked in on me. I took a break for a few weeks because I strained my eyes. So if you watch the last few videos, you can see I'm getting more and more, I'm falling apart because we had a bunch of big projects fall in my lap at the same time. So I was working like 12 to 17 hours a day. And long story short, I strained my eyes. I'd just be sitting down, there'd just be tears streaming out of my face all day long, and I had like lots of headaches and stuff. So I took a break from all this stuff to get better. And even, I mean, I could have made one in the last week, but then I got addicted to audiobooks, and you can't read and make a video at the same time. So anyway, lots of excuses, but I'm feeling much better now. Thanks for everyone who checked out on me. Thanks for everyone who said hi at the Reptoid Games launch party. I ran into a few viewers. It was super fun. If you haven't checked it out, our friend Simon's game released, Fossil Hunters. It's available online in all sorts of places, and it's super fun and cute. So go check that out if you're a fan of puzzle adventure games. Our friend Scripter, of course, take a peek at what he's got. There's a bunch of different things there. You could use your master controller, line weight controller, things of that nature. If you have any requests that you want Scripter to make, please let us know. I will forward that message and see what we can get done. But today, I just want to talk a little bit about mouth charts, because a lot of times you see indie animation and their mouth charts are just like wobbly. They're everywhere. With cutout animation, one of the big advantages is you can pre-draw all of your substitutions. So you can draw yourself a whole bunch of hands to have on tap. You can draw yourself eye blinks and your mouth charts. So getting that stuff done ahead of time is going to make your animation look top shelf, even if you're in a hurry to do the animation part. This preliminary part, getting your stuff really good and set up tight in your rig, is going to help you in the long run. I mean, if you're going to reuse the rig over and over again, take the time to make sure that these mouths are really tight. So one thing I've seen baby animators do is they'll accidentally animate a drawing. So right now, even though this is empty, you can add keyframes here on your drawing, and you can bump it using your coordinates and control points. So see here, if I grab this, I got my animation tool, I can bump this and move it around, and there's nothing in the scene. But the problem is, if I draw on this frame, and then on the next frame, I need, say, a little bit of a squash. And here I'm like, oh, okay, these drawings are happy, they're doing what they need to do. But the problem is that it's animated. So if you look in the drawing view, these drawings are not lined up. Not even at all. Not even a little bit. So when the person sets it up, they feel like, okay, everything's a nice, happy place. But really things are going to bounce all over the place. So if you, you say you're animating, you've got it on this guy here, you take off all your keyframes, and then you need to change your drawing substitution, it's gone. It's way over there. So you'll get your mouth charts jumping all over the place. That's something that people do more often than you would think. So when you're setting up your mouth chart, you want to make sure there's no animation at all. You can even just take the peg off and make sure that everything is going to be lined up. You don't want any surprises. You can also delete all of your drawing substitution. Boop, boop, boop. Right, you want to make sure that there's not too many extra drawings or anything in here, so you can delete the selected drawing. I have it bound to the at key, just because it's a little bit easier, but make sure that you don't have a ton of extra sneaky stuff on here. And then you want to set up your mouth chart. So I'm going to show you a little bit on this character, but I just want to talk about first, I want to talk about the different shapes that you do. So I'm going to do an English language mouth chart. Different languages need different shapes. I work with Spanish guys who like to have a th, or the tongue like this, like a thistle shape. In English, usually, like if we say the or thistle, there's no big like this kind of thing. So I don't do that mouth, but maybe you need it. If you're doing something other than English, keep that in mind. You might need extra ones. But what I like to do is meow. How do you spell meow? Meow. And then lif. Is this like a dotted? It is a textured brush. Ooh, I'm dumb. I'm like, why am I getting this ugly textured brush? Probably because you're using an ugly textured brush. Yeah. So I like to do meow-lif. Those are my shapes. I'll just do a little roughy brush. So M is just Sometimes you'll have a smile mouth just as your default. That's what your designers will give you. Why is this brush? I just switched my brush nib, my pen nib, and it's so slippery. I got a slippery one. So if you have a smile, you might want to use that as your M mouth. You might not. You might, depending on the art director, they may want just like a little M mouth. Boop. And you want to make sure it's lined up pretty good. So the next thing in a meow is a me. So I'm going to do the me. Me. Meow. Meow. So the next one is a little bit of an ah. Not a big ah. You could even, if you've got your mouth chart like this, you could finish off the tooth line here and then make a little bit of an ah. You don't even have to make it much bigger. I don't know if you want a tongue, that's a design choice, but make sure that if you have a tongue, you're going to maintain the shape. And one thing I have to keep drilling into people is when you move your mouth, no matter what you do with your face, your top teeth cannot move. These are connected to your skull. So wherever your cheekbones are, your teeth are going to hang out there. All of this stuff around it can move. Your bottom jaw can do a whole lot of stuff, but your top teeth never ever move. So if you want to make sure that your mouth chart looks really good, make sure the top teeth stay the same no matter what the face is doing. When the teeth float around and change, it's so ugly. Sometimes you'll see a mouth and you'll have teeth like this, and then they'll smile like Peppa Pig, and then all of a sudden they've got these big old teeth, and then the next drawing they've got little teeth, and it's bad. It's so ugly. Don't do that. Stay on model. Teeth don't move. Top teeth, they don't move. So I'm going to copy that and move it to the next one. The lips can move a little bit. It depends on, like I said, the style of the show. Sometimes a little bit of wobble's great. Sometimes they want it super tight. If they want it super tight, copy and paste the line. Don't redraw a line if you need the exact same line. That's crazy. So the next one is a big ah. Meow. So then after that, the big ah, and you can have 2 or 3, depending on how, like you might want an in-between here. It really depends on how smooth they want the animation. So then from the ah, you got to go into a ooh. So a lot of times they have ahs and they have oohs, but there's nothing in between there. So you want an in-between. I'm going to take my teeth so they don't flop around. So you want an in-between between your ah and your ooh. And we can cut off that extra bit of tooth. Bring the teeth along. Ew. And then, ooh. I think I'm moving over a little bit too much. It's easier if you have a face because you can make sure that your mouth is following the perspective of the face. We're going to have a little ooh there. So, meow. Meow. See, those top teeth not moving makes it feel anchored, like it's not floating around. It's not a floaty mouth. Keeping those teeth tight is going to make a huge difference. So once you have your meow, next you need your luffe, because these can in between pretty well together. Like I said, I think I want something between here and here. Make sure your tongue stays about the same size. Yeah, yeah, ooh. Maybe I'll even get rid of the tongue. Yeah, so then we needed a L. So if we, in between there, this is too small for an L, I feel, and this is too big. So what I'm going to do is extend my exposure, Shift plus, and then I'm going to duplicate this drawing, Alt Shift D. You can also right click drawings, duplicate your drawing, Alt Shift D, boop. And now it's going to create a new one in your line here. And I'm going to make sure that my onion skin here is between the two, and I can just give it a rough, something a little bit halfway. And this is the size I want my L shape. I'm going to copy and paste that and then duplicate it again, Alt Shift D, and then change it to an L tongue. So now I know that these are going to in between well together because they're based on the exact same shapes. Meow. And then the F, I'm going to take this guy here because he's got the full tooth, because the F is the sort of the teeth chomping on the lower lip here. So I'm going to copy that, paste it, Alt Shift D again. You can also copy the drawing from here. So you could copy this, go to an empty frame and then paste it. That's another perfectly good choice. By copying and pasting rather than redrawing, it's going to go together a little bit better. So now we have all our mouths. I wasn't particularly careful. You might Like these corners might need to be kept tighter. Like I said, it depends on the style of the show. But for if you're doing kind of a rough indie look, something like sticking around, you can get away with a little bit of wobble in your lines. Yeah, the lift. So now any words you can think of, you should be able to make it out of these here. Like if we say cat, so we have a ka, an a t, cat. You. I think I do want a mouth here, or a tongue, sorry. Those are the mouths I like going with. Most of the things you're going to be able to get out of Meowlifa. And this, the meow, is M, and then E, with the teeth closed. E. Little bit, and then however many ahs you want. 3 is kind of a standard go-to. And then start going towards your Y's, U, and then O. And then L, we copy paste. And then F, we copy paste. And add some. That should cover most of it. You might want a happy one and a sad one, or you might just want a neutral one, and then you can adjust it later. I do have an episode where I go over about rigging mouths, the mechanics of it, and different ways you can approach it. Sometimes you want to detach the tongue. Sometimes you want to detach the teeth. If you have lower teeth, like fish hooks has some really, really good mouth charts. So they have these big teeth on the bottom and everything's separated so they can go like, nah, 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 nah. So definitely check out fish hooks if you want to see a good reference for a really fun mouth chart. Boop. So now I have my fairy. Her lips are a little bit more detailed. So we're going to need to include the jaw in this as well. Oh, one thing I totally forgot. I just deleted my mouth chart, but you have all your mouth drawings. And then you've been duplicating them, and you've been copying, pasting to the end, and duplicating them. Once you go into your drawing substitutions, your numbers are all over the place. So we got, it's all normal up to 6, 8, 7, 9. Everything's out of order. All you have to do is you finish your mouth chart, however many mouths you need. And sometimes, I mean, you could have 50 mouths. That's not unusual, because especially if you're doing a rotation rig, you've got side mouths, 3/4 mouths, you got front mouths. Then you're all finished. You select your entire group of things, right click, drawings, rename by frame, boop. And now it's going to make them consecutive. So all of your, if you have everything on your timeline, you've got your side mouths together, your front mouths together, your other mouths together, everything is going to be lined up, and you're going to be able to scroll through them correctly. You're not going to have some fronts and then some 3/4 jumping all over the place. Chaos. You don't want that. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a few things with the fairy mouth. I'm probably not going to record doing the entire mouth because, I mean, it's tedious. It's exactly these things. I just want to show you a few things with a little bit more complex mouth that'll help make things easier. So first thing I'm going to do is take the mouth and the jaw, because that needs to be included in this, and I'm going to put it on its own rough. I put the jaw on the color art layer, and I separated the jaw from the actual face. So now as she's talking, her jaw is going to extend. I'm going to be able to tidy this stuff up, and my head's not going to be wobbling everywhere. I mean, you could delete this, or you could put it on another drawing. It's just nice to have these connections so you can make sure things aren't wandering away too far. And now the mouth here is on another layer. So I'm going to start with my and I think this one's fine for M. It's a little bit smiley, not too smiley, and I'm going to need to do at least 2 mouth charts for her. So the next one I'm going to do is an E. So rather than redraw all these lines, I want you to remember that you can use your drawing tools itself. The select tool, you're able to squash and stretch things. So if going from M to E, if I just want to make the mouth a little bit wider, I'm going to use that tool to spread it out a little bit. Me. When you're using this, you have your pencil tool, pencil editor, which you're going to be able to affect the scale of things, because sometimes if you're stretching, like if I were to squish this down, the thickness might change. So you want to, if you're doing a really tight thing here, you might want your lines to thin out. So using your pencil editor is going to be able to help you tighten up those lines real nice. Okay. You also have your contour editor. So that's how you're going to be able to move each of these lines independently like that. And within your contour editor, you have this here that says Show Contour Editor Controls. So I'm going to select that in the tool properties. And now I'm going to be able to rotate several of them at the same time. I can grab the outer corners. I don't have these selected, but I'm able to rotate from this point if I want our lips to curl up. So it will save you from moving all these 3 points. Me. And this looks bonkers because everything's detached. But that tool is totally game-changing when you're editing multiple points at the same time, because it's not just that you can translate these around, you can also rotate them using that. All right, so I got the first 2 done. The me. I wouldn't use this as a smile. It looks a little bit weird, but looks like a dead smile. One thing you can do to make this stuff a little bit easier for you is to separate these into more layers. So here I'm going to take everything except the teeth. I'm going to put it on the overlay layer because I want to play around with the corners of the mouth here. And by separating them, I'm going to be able to keep the teeth where they are while messing around with these layers. So once you finish each mouth, you can move them back into place. You don't need to keep them on separate layers, but separating them, even just temporary, can help you keep your stuff straight. One of the things that's really annoying about using the pencil tool is just that it's so finicky where they overlap one another. With the brush tool, I mean, you can flatten it out so that you're just playing with the kind of the contour shape, whereas little stuff moving these pencils around, sometimes you get weird stuff like this. You have to chop off the end. So you want to try and keep as few contour points in there as possible, just because it's less stuff for you to tangle with. Another thing you can do is just cut something off, and then you can grab these corners easily and then paste it back. You might need to relayer it, but that way you're just quickly getting some of these points out from under each other, and there's less of a hassle. So what I'm going to do is make these teeth bigger than the lips, like significantly bigger. If you're doing a gummy mouth, then you're going to want to put gums under here and stuff. But for this character, I'm just going to have a flat white chunk of teeth here and make them smaller. I think I want to give her a little bit of an underbite, but I don't want to put bottom teeth in there. One thing that's kind of fun to look at if you're interested in character and drawing faces is some people are bottom teeth talkers and some people are top teeth talkers. There's not very many people who really show off their teeth like this when they're talking, unless they're like Napoleon Dynamite or something. And then what I'm going to do is grab the mouth color and I'm going to draw behind, and I'm going to draw behind the teeth a whole chunk of mouth color. I don't want it to be a perfect seal around the lips. I want it to be a bigger chunk, and so layers do help with that, but you can just draw behind even if you're working on one layer. Okay, so now that the teeth are coming apart, we're going to affect the jaw as well. So from to E, and anything where your teeth stay clenched, you keep the jaw where it is. It's only when your teeth separate from one another. So going from E to A. Why does she look so dead? Is it her eyes? I like to just move the jaw in increments. So shift down is 1 unit of mouth openness. And then the next one, I'm going to duplicate the mouth drawing. Once you have one A, it's easier to make the next one. If you want to get into detailed mouths, you can think about how as the lips stretch, they thin out. So you're not going to have a really wide mouth and a big fat lip, because as you open it, this part here especially is going to stretch really thin, and it'll keep you from getting those, the Wallace and Gromit mouths, where the character's got his mouth open, he's just got teeth all the way, like lips all the way around. That's at times offensive and all the time ugly, I think. So we're going to thin out the lips a bit as they open. And the top lip's going to be pulled down as well as you open it wider. Not a lot. No. If you're going to do stuff like add deformers into the lips or anything like that, I recommend doing all your drawing substitutions first And then once you have all of your mouths done, you can go in and make sure everything's leveled where you want it to be. So maybe you want your bottom teeth and your lip on a separate layer. Definitely check out the mouth video, the mouth rigging video, to get some ideas for that. There's lots of different ways to do it, but I'd have all your mouth charts done first before you start mucking around with that. So then my jaw, I'm going to do shift down and do one more. Shift, one more wider mouth. This I'm going to do real wide. Like I said, I don't think I'm going to record all of this. Hopefully you have a few little tricks that'll help you get your mouth charts done. A lot of it is just taking your time, copying, pasting, making sure that your line art isn't constantly changing thickness and stuff. By duplicating stuff, you're saving yourself the headache of keeping your line art really tight. Definitely duplicate those top teeth. I can't emphasize enough how much that adds for a mouth chart. Keep that stuff in the exact same spot. And then once you start bringing them in to do the U's, that's when I'd crack out the contour editor, this guy here. Instead of, like, don't redraw things. It doesn't make sense to redraw this stuff if you need it to be super tight. Get rid of the stuff that this isn't hiding. And if you haven't, as you're doing your U's, brought your jaw back up, because as your mouth starts to close, the jaw is going to come back up. You can go back and copy and paste. You know, your mouth's just a tiny bit open here, so this is about what I want my O to do, so I can just replace this jaw with the O jaw. This is a little bit to the right of where the previous one was. I don't know how well you can see that, but you can see it's kind of sticking right here on this side. So I want to move this over, but it's on 2 or 3 layers. So what I can do is start here and then shift over, and then here and shift over like that. But I can also select down. So here, this apply to line and color art. So if you're using your line and color, you can connect these down and then move them across. You can move both layers at the same time. That's a super handy one. Worst case scenario, if everything's in the wrong spot, you've got half your drawings in one spot and half the drawings in the other, you can use your peg to align them and then copy and paste everything out onto a fresh drawing that has no animation at all. That's really annoying, but if you've got your drawings all over the place and stuff, it's definitely worth your time to put them onto a fresh drawing. Meow. Well, Toon Boom decided to crash, so I'm going to call this the end of the video. Hopefully it was a little bit useful. I'm going to do about a video a week for a while, just until I stop getting so many headaches. And if you want to grab Blue from Gumroad, he's got a full mouth chart in all the different directions, so you can see how I approached it that way. Once I get a little farther into the fairy, I have to do all the different views of the mouth, but I am going to go over how I'm going to set up her mouth in the rotation rig. So that'll be useful for those of you who want to get into the advanced rigging stuff. Any requests for videos, leave them down below. I'm going to go touch and go on the fairy for a little while. Maybe do some drawing stuff. I'm thinking about doing some fireworks next week, so stay tuned for that if you're interested in particles or even just practical effects, because I'm going to be drawing. Can you hear my fan? Poor Toon Boom. Face. Thanks for dropping by. Like, share, subscribe, all those things internet people ask you to do, and I hope your Toon Boom doesn't crash. Bye!